Alright, you guys, here is part 2 of Kenya versus Tanzania. Enjoy. Okay, so let's get to number 4. COVID precautions. What is going on, y'all? Which one has better, worse, and everything is going to be up to what you think is necessary for your safety, right? So I'm not going to really grade which one is better or worse in this scenario. I'm just going to tell you what the precautions are in each country up to this point. So as of July 2021, we'll start with Kenya. I just got here, but I am very familiar with their requirements. Kenya has a 10 p.m. curfew, and that is the entire country. Doesn't matter if you're inland or if you are on the coast. They do take it seriously. You have to be careful. You have to wear your mask here, or at least have it and be able to pull it up when you go into public places. It's honestly not as strict as I feel like it was in Mexico walking around. You really are supposed to wear your mask all the time in Mexico, and you'll see the locals do it. But here people have on their masks, but it's really, as soon as you go into a public place, you got to make sure that you've got that mask on. Preferably if you're walking down the street, because if a cop sees you, they actually can give you a fine and be as drastic as to arrest you, from what I hear. I have not witnessed that, but I have seen that. I understand for curfew, you can be taken to jail, or you might be charged a fine for driving around after curfew. Some people have passes to drive around after curfew in Kenya, but you've got to get that information. Know before you go, okay? I did take a risk while I was here and moved from one location to another. It was about ended up being like a 30-minute drive because of, the person couldn't figure out where they were going, but it was literally around the corner from where I was staying, and there was a potential of there being some issues, but I didn't have any concerns. But I would recommend, if you're going to be coming here, that you kind of schedule your things around curfew, and it's from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. So there's no nightclubs to go to per se, but there's bars and lounges and things like that that are open until 9:30, 10 o'clock, right? So you could still enjoy yourself, and then have your friends come and hang out with you wherever you're staying, or you go hang out with them with safety precautions. Just make sure you do that. Let's see what else. You are required, of course, to have a PCR to enter the country. You don't have to walk around with a PCR or anything like that. In Kenya. In Tanzania, it's still more lax. I think they are starting to change and make different precautions, and I will speak specifically about Tanzania as a whole. Masks are not required. Some places will ask you to wear a mask before entering. Some places the employees are wearing masks. Some of the shopping centers, like Shoppers, you'll see people wearing their masks and things like that. But it has not become a country mandate yet. But it is one of those things to keep up with the CDC and Tanzania news to see what they're changing, when they're changing it, things like that. You are now required to get a rapid test when you land in Tanzania. You are required to have your PCR before you get there. When I arrived in December, PCR was not required, so that is a huge change. To leave Tanzania and go anywhere by plane, you are required to get a PCR, and the cheapest is $125. And I can share with you where I go in Tanzania to get my PCR test. 100 of that is going to the government, so there's really no waiver on the $100 part. It's really the additional clinic fee that is can literally be upwards of almost another $70 to $100 depending on where you go. So you want to be aware of that. To come to Kenya, you do need a yellow fever card. Some people they ask, some people they don't. Just get your yellow fever before you come, or be willing to go through what I went through at the border to try to navigate through that, In other words, have you some money on hand. Let's keep it real. You got questions outside of what I share here, please reach out to me, and we can schedule some consultation time, all right? So that's the thing. No real requirements and mandates in Tanzania as of yet, and Kenya has curfew. So you can pick and choose what makes sense for you, what you're willing to tolerate when you're traveling. But I will say I in Tanzania, I will not lie, I was out to the wee hours of the morning a lot of times, but it was social distancing. It was like really easy, to be in places because they weren't super crowded. And if they were, take your mask with you. Do whatever you need to do to be precautious for your own health and that kind of thing. I am a big fan of being outside, so just natural air and oxygen and things like that is to me really good. So being able to remove the mask is like to me a health saver just in general, because we do need natural vitamins from the air and from the sun. Okay, so that's my tidbit on that. Y'all pick and choose what's right for you. I'm just providing the information as I receive it and as I have experienced it. All right, number 5. I'm gonna skip this one. I'm gonna do a different number. Let me see. Hold on, y'all. I have a couple. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do. Oh, number 5. So number 5, data and Wi-Fi. So one of the things that I have experienced in DAR is they have maybe 5 different data providers, you guys. I'm gonna tell you the one that worked the best for me was Zantel, and that was when I was in Zanzibar. Vodacom I feel like they don't have regulations. I'm just speaking from my experience. I've been there 8 months, and Vodacom is about what I pay in the States and almost unreliable to a certain extent. I mean, and you have to be a heavy data user in order to understand what I'm talking about, right? There are some places in DAR that don't have the lines in the ground. Sometimes we call them T1 lines, but the hardwire lines to actually wire homes and apartments for data usage. So you're buying data on your phone, you're using your phone as a hotspot, or you're buying hotspot. Vodacom is actually very expensive. The hotspots are about $100. Airtel has hotspots, but that's even quirky because you'll buy 12 gigs and it'll only give you 1.2 gigs. I've experienced this 2 times. So, and then what you'll find is the throttling with your data it's unpredictable. One day you could be using data left and right and you barely use any gigs. The next day you could do the same exact thing or less and it'll run through 10 gigs of data. Is it pulling from the day before? What is it doing? And so it's really hard to gauge what you're going to need. So if you're not booking like a Airbnb or something that provides Wi-Fi and good Wi-Fi, and you're digital nomading, this is really, really important. What I've seen on Kenya's side so far, mainly because I have been in Airbnbs or apartments and free Wi-Fi is a requirement for me and my list of things, is that it is fantastic. But I did get a SIM card when I got here, so I'm on Safaricom. And y'all, when I say drastic difference, and I've been loading and uploading data, or not necessarily to YouTube, because as you guys know, I've kind of been a little hiatus, but doing so much stuff on my phone outside of when I'm in an apartment with Wi-Fi, and I bought 25 gigs, and that was two weeks ago. Of course, somebody's working on the car. I don't know how I get so lucky to always have noise somewhere in my background, but 2 weeks ago I bought the data package, and I am at 18 gigs. I've only used 7 gigs in 2 weeks, and I think that is pretty phenomenal, given that I was using 8 to 10 gigs in some instances per day in Tanzania on Vodacom. So pick and choose. And that's just one of the things that's critically important if you are a digital nomad, if you are working anywhere, doing anything where you're uploading things and you need data. It's important to know that all data ain't the same data. So that's my info for that. Okay, so number 7, I'm gonna do Airbnb, Airbnb or rentals and things like that. Actually, no, I'll wait and do that one with cost. Y'all, I'm gonna skip around. I'm gonna go back. One of the things I'm gonna tell you guys, and this may sound bad, is there are no mosque sirens here, and each culture has their thing that they do. But one of the things that you will become very acquainted with, and that is sirens at 4 a.m. in the morning. And this is a lot of places that you go to. It was even in yeah, mostly in Africa. I'm trying to think if Cuba had, or if that was just always the rooster that crowed at 4:55 a.m. But it's something that I got used to. But they also, one of the things that I noticed in Tanzania, depending on where you are, they would actually change the TV. Like, so if you're watching TV, you could be at a bar and they would completely take over the airwaves and broadcast the service or whatever it is that they were doing over your television, and you couldn't change it. So those are things to be aware of. That is their culture, that is what they do in the country, and that is just something that you have to adjust to. You are going to hear these sirens no matter where you are in Dar es Salaam. I don't know, like in Tonga we heard it, because that's another a Muslim community. I'm not sure about Arusha and Moshi, because I actually have not been yet. So those are things that you just want to be aware of. Whereas in Kenya, I have been here, no sirens, no, you know how they do the sirens, and then they have someone come on and do the prayer and all of that. None of that. So you won't have any of that first thing in the morning. What you will have that will wake you up is these monkeys running across your rooftop, Let me get that out. That'll wake you up, okay? So that'll be your siren for the day. But that was just something that I literally was just like, oh my God, it's quiet. 4 a.m. in the morning, 12 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and again at night. Just things that you get so accustomed to. And I'm just telling you, you literally adjust to these things rather quickly, because it's a part of life. If you're going to be somewhere, this is what you're going to have to adjust to. So if you're a person that you don't want to be indoctrinated, or you don't want to be subjected to it, you ain't gonna like it, because that's what you're gonna hear all of the time, or at least 4 times a day, right? But I will just tell you here, and on the East Coast, I have not heard it. I don't know about Nairobi yet, so we'll find out when I take a visit there. I'm going to tell you one other thing that makes a huge difference, and this is specifically, I think, to women, and that is your attire, your dress. It is very free here in Kenya. Kenya is very open, very casual. I can wear shorts, I can wear off the shoulder stuff during the day. I can just dress what I would call normal, what I'm used to dressing like. You can also be, I haven't actually seen anyone covered up. Let me think if, I'm sorry, let me correct that. In Mombasa, yes, you see people, women covered, but then what's interesting is you also see them when they take off their coverings, the dresses, and that kind of thing. They have regular clothes on underneath, and they will take those things off sometimes when they come into local spots, So it's really interesting to see. And so I don't know if it's more of when you're out in the street, you have to make sure that you're wearing it, that your head is covered, and that your body is covered as well. I didn't have an opportunity to ask, because that was just something that was interesting that I saw. It was just like, oh wow. So you see more of that here on the further south on the coast, the same coast, but just an hour away from Mombasa. I haven't seen not one person wear a hijab or any of that. I haven't seen any of that down here, including the men. Everybody is very, very casual. So it reminds you more of Zanzibar, I would say, and not Stone Town Zanzibar, because that's very conservative, but beachside Zanzibar in that respect. So you'll see more of that. But you still are respectful of people and things like that. But I literally am very comfortable. I don't not once think about what I can't wear. It's not that I'm walking around sleazy and showing everything. It's just I can actually put on a pair of shorts. Y'all only brought one pair because I didn't think I'd be able to wear them. I can actually put on a pair of shorts and it's not a big deal. Like everybody is walking around with shorts on, and that's in Mombasa too. So, but I will say this, in Tanzania, one of the things that I did notice is Monday through Thursday during the daytime, and Sundays, people are very conservative. Come Thursday night through Saturday night, all bets are off. The ladies wear what they want to wear. And so for me, and I'm just going to say this, I come from a place where, you have to think about all of that all the time. And I don't want to be this fence straddler where, I'm trying to honor, but then the next minute I'm not, because that's just confusing. And so for me, that was one of the things that I've always been like, when you're looking to, and this is one of the conversation that I actually want to have like offline on like Clubhouse or something like that, is how impactful is conservatism as a woman and or male to you, like the change and having to change your appearance and appear to to kind of blend with the culture only because you have to blend with the culture, right? If it's not truly your belief system, if you're leaving one place for freedoms, but then you're coming to another place that is limiting in that or is constructing those freedoms, how important is that to you? Is that something that you can live with? And these are things to think about, because this is lifelong. You don't move to a place and then just walk around all willy-nilly. I could never walk around in Dar es Salaam with a bikini top on. I wouldn't do it here, but I could literally walk around with a bikini top and a cover up on, and it's okay, or a tank top and shorts, and it's okay. Nobody even thinks twice. You could be sitting next to somebody that's got a burqa, hijab, everything fully covered, and nobody even thinks twice about it here in Kenya. So that's something that I think is worth talking about. All right, you guys, that was part 2. Now stay tuned for part 3 of Kenya versus Tanzania. Toodles and noodles, peace and hair grease.